Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name's the Gamerman 2002, aka Tommy Murray, and I will be talking about Survivor's strongest perks. Open brackets, my opinion, close bracket. So this is basically my opinion, and I will be telling you why I think it. So let's go. So we'll start off with Dwight Fairfield. And I would say prove thyself, because you get a 10% repair, can't even talk, speed bonus. This bonus is also applied to all other survivors, and he gets 100% more blood points. Who doesn't want more blood points? Leader, there's been a nerf. It doesn't really affect generator speed, so that's been quite nerfed, I'm afraid. So that used to be, in my opinion, the strongest, but now it's little prove thyself. Bond, it's not that bad either, but it can be used to lead the killer to other survivors, which is pretty annoying in my opinion. And let's move on to Meg Thomas. Aha, so Meg. Now this one, this one depends. Not many people use quick and quiet. But however, I believe sprint burst is the strongest. So when you're starting to run, break into a sprint of 150%, blah de blah de blah. There is a cooldown to it, the exhausted status effect. However, it can be used throughout the game. And adrenaline has to be towards the end, so you might not even be able to get towards the end. You can use sprint burst at the beginning and the end of the game. You can also use quick and quiet, but quick and quiet's more situational, and sprint burst, just tap L1. Quick and quiet, the game can't really progress if you're just constantly hiding in a locker. It's good when you're running away from a killer, I guess, because they don't know you're in a locker, but scratch marks doesn't remove the scratch marks. Doesn't matter how quick you go in. So sprint burst is stronger. So let's move on to Claudette. Now, I think everyone would agree with me that self-care is the most strongest out of all of them. This basically does not give you, like, I'll rephrase that. You basically don't need a med kit. It's there. Just when you're injured, run away, click R1, heal up. Like, it's a perk that can get you out of the injured state to the recovered state, and you don't need a med kit. So it can be used constantly throughout the game, and so yeah, it is one of the most strongest perks in the game overall, and I don't think anyone would disagree, hopefully. Now let's move on to Jake. Now Jake is an interesting character, likes to use the environment to help him, but I believe Calm Spirit is his strongest. So it stops the woodland creatures by 100%. And he also can overcome the urge to scream due to madness, intoxication, and getting injured by the killer. So this kind of reduces the sound, and it counters quite a lot. Counters quite a lot of killer perks, for example. Actually, no, killer powers as well. Counters the clown, counters the plague. Due to madness, sometimes I think the doctor to a certain degree, but don't hold me up to that straight away. But yeah, Saboteur's not really used much anymore. There's not really a use for it anymore, because yeah. And Iron Will, it's pretty weak in my opinion are like the grunts of pain. Well, you'd run away and heal up. You wouldn't really want to stay in the injured state, really, would you? But let's move on. Now, Nia is a very tough one. I believe Nia, his perks are all pretty much the same, but if I had to give one that I would use and it's more stronger, it would be Urban Evasion. Urban Evasion, it just doesn't really look good on paper. Your movement speed while crouching is increased, okay? But you can crouch behind big objects to get away from the killer, and it's great evasion tactics as well. The amount of times I've got away with the killer from it. Balance landing, it depends on the map, so that's why Urban Evasion can be used pretty much in all maps. Hide behind any objects. Balance landing depending on the map. And streetwise, well, you have to be running something as well. That also depends. Also, let's move on to Ace. Now, this one people would probably disagree with me on, but I believe open-handed is a lot stronger. Up the ante, I think quite a few people would agree that up the ante is the worst, because it only grants a 3% bonus of luck, which is not really nothing, so that's like 7% chance of getting off a hook. Whoop-de-doo. But yeah, now Ace in the hole, I like it, but sometimes it gives me something that I don't want. I don't want a flashlight, so I'm not going to be running around, and I don't believe chests give enough blood points, so that's why I think Ace in the hole is pretty weak. But open-handed, because it's so helpful to other survivors. Ace can run another perk alongside, like empathy, that can increase it, and he can help other survivors with the increase. It's more like Ace is quite a good team player throughout, as you can see his perks, and I think open-handed is so strong that it can help his aura revealing perks, and that is really good in my opinion. Now let's move on to Fangmin. Boring. But anyway, let's have a look. Now this one again, this is an interesting one. Now you see how high level survivors go alert. You see new people go lith. But I would say technician is the strongest, because you have new survivors. If you're working on a gem with new survivors and they're constantly failing the skill check, and you're getting fed up of them just constantly failing the skill check, and now the killers come along and then they tunnel you, hook you forever, then you die, all because that person failed that skill check. See what I mean? Technician, there's a 50% chance the generator that will be prevented. So this helps survivors, like people who like to do gens, and then more like running around. This really helps it, and it's also helpful when there's new survivors and they have no clue what they're doing, so they're thinking, oh, I'll just get on a gen, and this helps get generators increased. And also that they added in a new update quite recently that it can be the hearing and the distance are reduced by 8 meters, so it gives the killer thinking in their mind, actually there might not be anyone on that gen, I might as well just go away from that area and focus when I can hear it. So technician is also quite good. I don't see a lot of survivors running it, but it's one of those dark horse perks that you don't think would be good, but actually in a game it's pretty strong and it just saves you. But let's move on now to my personal favourite survivor, who I just love. is the good old Laurie Strode. Stroding around, gang. Now, I would always say, this depends how you play Laurie. In my opinion, I would say Decisive Strike is the strongest because of... Decisive Strike has had quite a rework at the moment. It used to be when you get down, the killer picks you up, receive the skill check, you pass it, you jump off his back, and then you can run away. However, I like the new update to Decisive Strike. People used to tunnel, killers used to tunnel quite a lot of people with Decisive Strike, so they used to try find them, then get it off them by dribbling them. So just pick up, drop, pick up, drop, pick up, drop. It got quite annoying. So I quite like how the developers have changed it. So when you get downed, and then you get put on a hook, then you get unhooked, if you get tunneled again, then you'll receive the skill check. It's just changing when the skill check is, basically. And that's a better way of surviving, because then the killer might go for someone who went for the unhook. So that means they'll get protection points as well. So all good in the end. Object of Obsession is interesting. However, if you don't like getting tunneled or chased by the killer, then go away from it. And Sole Survivor, it's just not strong enough, I'm afraid. You have to rely on survivors dying, so it's kind of a reliant perk. And let's move on to who I find very annoying. Hate with a passion, David King. And now I actually like one of his perks. I like it very much, and it's my favourite. And it's We're Gonna Live Forever. It's so strong. It gives you more blood points constantly for just doing a basic action of just unhooking. And you get lots of blood points. It's good also for protection hits as well. You also get it for that. It's just so strong for that. If you just want to be farming so much blood points, then you just do that. And Dead Hard is interesting, but you have to be injured. I don't like that because you don't really lose sight of the killer doesn't lose line of sight, and it's just okay. The killer's missed. They can just hit you again. Okay, end of. Unless it's like you're using it for a pallet or to leave throughout the exit gate or the hatch, then it's like not really good in my opinion. And No Mytha is just tough to use and a waste of time in my opinion. But you don't really, it's like Unbreakable, you don't really get to recover from the dying state much. It's just if the killer's trying to slug you, it only stops slugging. And being constantly in that broken state, like, it's just so tough sometimes, because usually you can take a hit and then you might be able to run off somewhere. But in No Mytha, you are left, you're vulnerable, very vulnerable, and that's why I don't like No Mytha. But let's move on to Quentin Smith. Aha. Now, this is an interesting one. I would say 100% Vigil definitely is the strongest, because Vigil, well, it gets you out of exhausted, hemorrhage, mangled, hindered, blindness, status effects, 20% faster. So even this helps when a survivor is probably running an add-on that gives you the exhausted status effect when you've got a trap on your head, for example. This also helps when you are using another survivor is using, let's say, Sprint Burst or Lift, or you could easily use it. It also counters quite a few other killers' powers as well. Counters the clouds. That's quite a nice power to counter as well. Blindness, it also, or I don't know actually. about third seal, possibly, but I wouldn't hold me to that one, but maybe third seal, but yeah, it's good for you and other survivors, and it probably annoys the killer quite a lot. Pharmacy, it's good but if you don't get a chest, it's pretty difficult. If you don't get a chest, it's kind of useless, and you might be able to open chests 80% faster, which is quite good, and the noise is reduced as well, which is quite nice. But once you've used it, you're only using it for that 80% faster, and there's only usually about 2 or 3 chests spawning in the game, so it's not really strong as well. And wake up's just a bit situational as well. So it does, I think, is actually quite helpful. I would say Vigil's the strongest, then wake up, then pharmacy. Because wake up it just helps when the generators are all powered up. You might not be able to see, the other survivors might not be able to see how where the exit gates were, because maybe they were getting chased by the killer. So this helps, and it reveals his aura, so survivors can just run to the exit gate, and so they can get out, and he opens the exit gates 15% faster. That is helpful. It counters the Remember Me Freddy as well, counters Remember Me as well, which is quite nice as well. That's quite annoying as well when Freddy's constantly camping the exit gates. But yeah, and let's go to Detective Tap. Aha. Now, Detective Tap. This is quite a tough one in my opinion as well. So the one that I don't like, is Tenacity, because you don't get to recover, you just get to crawl while you're recovering. Okay, and there's a bit of an increase of it. However, Detective's Hunch and Stakeout. See, I would go with Stakeout, because it lets you know, all you have to do is I'll explain. Stakeout is when you're not in the killer's terror radius. When you're not in a chase, and you're in the killer's terror radius, you start generating tokens, and those tokens turn the great skill checks into good skill checks. So every time you hit a good skill check and you have a token of Stakeout, it will turn it into a great skill check. This also counters Ruin as well. So being in the killer's terror radius but not in a chase, it's quite good. It counters Ruin, and Ruin is a very strong perk that annoys survivors. So while this is quite good when the other survivors are trying to find the Hex Totem, you could just be on the gen trying to still get them, using those 4 tokens, just trying to get the gen up quick, and then maybe the other survivors can help you. Stakeout is strong. I like Stakeout. Detective's Hunch reveals once you've done a gen. It's alright. It's okay. You have to do the gen as well. That's what I don't like about it. You have to complete the gen to get the reveal. If you don't, then Detective's Hunch is a waste of time. Don't use it if you don't like doing generators. But apart from that, yeah. But Stakeout is quite nice. It's a good one as well. Let's move on to Kate Denson. Now, I have people who disagree with me quite a bit about this perk. Once again, there is people quite like Boil Over. I like Dance With Me. I think Dance With Me is so strong. It's beneficial. It helps. So helpful as well. So when you are vaulting a window or you're leaving a locker in a sprint, you don't leave scratch marks for 3 seconds. This is so helpful when you're running away from the killer. And once you've broken line of sight, you vault it, so then the killer can't find you, and then you go away. Also, when you finish the generator, vault the pallet. Use darts with me. So it stops the killer going to the generator, knowing which area of the map you've gone to, so then they can try to single you down. If you use darts with me, you can vault and maybe go the other direction to try and trick the killer. This is why I like dance with me. It's just so good for evasion, and I like evading. Window of opportunity is quite nice as well. You get to reveal when you're in a chase. You might be in a bit of a panic and you just want to get out, or you want to try stun the killer. It reveals the pallets in the windows. This also helps as well, is if you don't know where the killer is roughly, or a survivor is getting chased by the killer and you don't know roughly where they are, you just know that you can hear the terror radius. And if you see a pallet getting flipped down, then you can know where the killer is, and maybe you could go the other way, or you could help the survivor as well. It's just good to know where it just helps when a killer is chasing you, or you're in the terror radius of it. It's nice. However, darts with me are stronger. And boil over, I don't believe it's strong enough in my opinion. I'd like that increase in the 14 meters. I'd want it to about 20 to 30 to make it strong and to like OP. And it doesn't really like stop the killer really. It might stop, it just only makes the killer go sway left to right. It's just not strong enough in my opinion. So this is why darts with me is the best around. Now moving on to our last three killers. Yes, last three. So we have Adam Francis. Now I have mixed views with him. I like him and I don't. I just like him and I don't. However, I believe the strongest perk for him is diversion. I like diversion actually. It stops the killer coming after you straight away as well, and it also creates, you throw a rock and it will give the killer a notification of a fake place where you are. So it won't actually reveal where you are. When you throw it, it will reveal where that area is. So it just basically puts the killer off guard, basically. It distracts the killer. That's what. And it's so good to make. You might be on a generator and the killer maybe is near. You might want to throw the rock over and give the killer, make him go the other way, or make him or her go the other way. It's good just to getting the killer away from you. And this also, you have to activate by being in the killer terror radius. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't think that's too bad, in my opinion. I think it's not bad. Now, a lot of people would probably say Deliverance is a lot stronger. I like Deliverance and I don't. It just I believe it's too reliant on other killers. I don't believe it's strong because, well, I'll rephrase that. I think it's strong, but it relies on other survivors, to basically be on hook if you just get it. And it also says it has to be a safe hook rescue. So if you get the survivor off and then they go down again, you don't get your Deliverance. So then you have to attempt again. And also if you get tunneled at the beginning of the game, you don't get your Deliverance. It's so... if you get it, it's really good. But I believe you have to rely on other survivors to basically get you to activate your perk. I don't really like it. It's alright. I use it in some builds, but it's alright. And Auto Didact, I just don't understand it. Like, I don't really... Why would I want it? It might increase it a little bit more, but I don't like starting minus 25% progress penalty. I don't like that. That's just rubbish in my opinion, and you have to go around healing, so it's just weird. It just gives you a negative and it forces you to make the positive, and I don't like that. Sometimes pessimism is better than optimism, but that's not the point there, is it? But yes, now let's move on to Jeff Johansson. I see, once again, mixed views. I believe my favourite is Aftercare. Aftercare is quite nice. So this is quite handy. So you see the aura when you hook them, you get someone off the hook, or you're completing a healing action, or they're completing a healing action on you. This is helpful because the survivors, so let's say you're at the end, you need to see where the killer is, and maybe they're getting chased, you just know where they are. It's just good to see throughout the whole game, and I believe it's stronger than empathy, and it's quite helpful, stronger than Bond as well. It's more helpful than Bond. Bond gives you the automatic, but Aftercare, I believe, once you get it, you deserve it. It's very good. I also like Distortion. I do like it, but it's just a little bit situational. If they're not running something like Bitter Murmur or Barbecue and Chili or Nurses Calling, then Distortion doesn't really come into active. And I would rather if we had more than 3 tokens as well. But I do like Distortion, don't get me wrong. And Breakdown, it's alright. I like that one as well, but not strong enough in my opinion. Aftercare and Distortion are a bit too high tier more. But let's move on to last but not very least, Jane Romero. Lovely Jane Romero. And let's have a look. Oh, nearest. Oh, still on Jeff. Oopsie. Let's go back to Jane. Ah, Mrs. Thunderthighs. Let's go to her perks. Oh, I've not saved her perks. Oh, it looks like I forgot to. So we have Head On and then Solidarity. There we go. See, anyway, I put up the perks that I like actually, in my opinion, when I was trying to sort this out. So my favourite is Poised. I think Poised is so strong. It's quite nice. You don't have to do the gen. You don't leave scratch marks. It works well with Dance With Me, and I like Dance With Me. It's just helpful. It's just helpful. You don't get tracked. And it's just a free way of just not getting any scratch marks. And it lasts for 10 seconds. That's quite long as well. That's quite long. Run that with Lightweight or Dance With Me, and that's just really nice. Like, I quite like that. Head On, it's strong but situational. It's when you're basically hiding in a locker, you wait for 3 seconds. If the killer is coming past, you basically do peekaboo to them, and it stuns them. It's quite funny. I find it quite funny actually. If a survivor did that to me while I was killer, I'd find it quite funny and annoyed at the same time. But it's not strong enough really. I'd like it to not have a 3 seconds. I'd wait for like 1 second and then for the stun, because I think they should treat it like a pallet stun. But it's not bad. It's alright still. And Solidarity, I've not really had a chance to use it, so I'm not. And it on paper it doesn't really look good. Well, actually no, on paper it does look good, sorry. But in the game it might not be that good. I don't see many people run it. And yeah. So that is it. You've heard my long, boring opinion. And if you probably agree with me, obviously you should always agree with me. But if you don't, that's fine. I have quite a lot of people that disagree with my perks and stuff, but there we go. But anyway, toodles!